Hello, this is Linda Foster. I have a Bachelor of Science in Accounting, and I am currently a Data Analytics graduate student at Western Governors University. I did not have a background in analytics before beginning the master's program, so for my capstone, I found a dataset on Kaggle on a topic that I thought could save lives, the opioid epidemic. I wanted to create a predictive model to identify significant sources of opiate prescriptions. This chart shows the rates of both opioid prescription sales and deaths, and they've both been increasing in recent years. Deaths are currently in the tens of thousands, as indicated by the Center for Disease Control. Problem and hypothesis. The research to help mitigate or prevent these opioid deaths are ongoing and they're expensive. So I wanted to see if a predictive model could help identify providers who were likely to prescribe opiates frequently. It would calculate the probability based on data that's collected and published by the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services every year. And because that information is free, it's meant to be a cost and time-saving tool that would help identify providers who are likely to contribute to the opioid problem. For this analysis, we are identifying providers who are likely to prescribe more than 10 opiate prescriptions in the previous year. Data analysis process. For unsupervised learning, I use Green-Acres method to identify both state and specialty clusters. Then I use divisive clustering via principal component analysis for variable selection, and forward selection helped me detect and include interaction terms. To create the binary classifier, I use logistic regression. Clustering levels using Green-Acres method. Green-Acres method was used to cluster the levels for both state and specialty based on the reduction in the chi-square test between the input and target variables. State had 57 levels and specialty had 109 levels, and after collapsing the redundant and rare categories into a reasonable number of clusters, state resulted in 6 levels and specialty was reduced to 12 levels. Divisive clustering via principal component analysis. The predictive power of certain medications can represent a cluster of medications with similar attributes. So I use divisive clustering to optimize over 250 variables. With a maximum eigenvalue of 2, the algorithm defined 14 different clusters, and this is the list of the variables with the lower 1 minus r squared value. I selected them to represent their associated cluster. Forward selection. I calculated a BIC-based p-value using the sample size, which turned out to be 0.00165. This p-value was used in forward selection for entry and retention. The statistically significant variables to enter the model are the 7 shown here. Interaction terms. Forward selection also detected these interaction terms as statistically significant, and they were all added to the model. Logistic regression. Model fit statistics indicate the model created by logistic regression is a better fit than the intercept-only model. This is indicated by the lower AIC, SC, and -2 log L values. The training dataset also show a C statistic of 0.872, which indicates a model with strong predictive power. Findings. The ROC curve for the validation dataset showed that our model was indeed able to accurately identify frequent opiate prescribers. The validation dataset show a C statistic of 0.8698 and compared to the training dataset C statistic of 0.872, the small difference indicates no evidence of overfitting and also demonstrates a really strong predictive power. Limitations. I used SAS Studio University for the analysis, and because it was the university edition, it had a few limitations that I had to find a workaround for. The first limitation was the upload limit. The upload wizard can only handle up to 10 megabytes, and my data set was 13 megabytes. So I had to use Python simple HTTP server to upload the data set from my local drive into the SAS Studio. Simple HTTP server made the directory accessible over port 8000 across the HTTP protocol. Memory access limit. The second limitation was memory. SAS Studio University would not allocate enough memory to complete the calculations for forward selection. There were just too many variables until I set the maximum eigenvalue to 2. Luckily, this did not negatively impact the predictive ability or usability of the model. Proposed actions. I recommend using this model in targeting campaigns that require the observation or recruitment of providers who are likely to prescribe opiates at least 10 times in the previous year. Because the data to use the model is freely available, I also recommend using a high classification threshold. This will minimize the false positive rate without being time or cost prohibitive. Expected benefits. The lift chart indicates that setting the classification threshold to the top 10% would target 1.7 times the number of providers who are likely to be a frequent opioid prescriber. This is in comparison to just selecting a random sample of providers. So a targeting campaign can either boost efficiency by approximately 41.18% or yield a cost savings of approximately 58.82%. This analysis uses a reduced dataset created by data scientist Alan Pryor and published it on Kaggle.com. The full dataset was collected and published by the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, and I also used a chart by the Center for Disease Control. Thank you.